the majority of our revenues from enterprise clients like Ripple. Now, most people know us as a retail app, and we're known for a super easy UX, a very wide choice of tokens, and retail is going to remain an important part of what we do. But our real superpower is really as a platform that can be used by enterprise clients to move fiat into crypto across different networks, and it can be used for payments in particular. And it's worth just digging in a little bit at the start, Joe, into our model and what makes us different. So we're effectively a prime broker, and we're the counterparty to every customer trade on the Uphold platform. Now, we rebalance our reserve by doing trades at 30 underlying venues that include centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, and OTC brokers. So effectively, our pricing engine is listening to pricing right across the market. It identifies the best pricing in the market. We can see the quantities available at certain prices. We can uncover multiple paths to achieve best execution. We cover, for example, USD pairs, Euro pairs, pound sterling pairs, ETH pairs, wrapped ETH pairs, USDT pairs. So there are literally hundreds of paths to execute a trade. And if you look at why Ripple chose us, it's primarily for our ability in terms of being able to move large quantities of XRP into the market without moving the price. So it's all about our ability to price and trade to extremely narrow spreads. And the reason we're excited about this is it's payments. So it's recurring income, it's recurring flows, which is a much nicer business than the sort of very feast or famine nature of retail. And this is a poster child for the kind of deal that we want to do and how we want the platform to be used, because it generates potentially higher quality revenues. And we've got other similar deals in the platform. And the other thing that's significant from my point of view is it's an example of how we're plugging Uphold as a platform into a large installed user base. So the Uphold ODL platform already handles hundreds of millions of dollars of flow a year. So it's not like you're plugging into a startup and you're inheriting execution risk. So for us, it's a very exciting project. It goes live on a very tight time frame. Actually, we've got the first live trades due in December. So at that point, I'll pause, Joe, because and let you chip in.
Yeah, that's an insight that honestly I hadn't gotten reading the public announcement. That insight being that one of your principal benefits in this partnership to Ripple is your ability to sell and buy massive amounts of XRP without necessarily causing price instability in that token, right? Which is basically a reflection of the fact, like you said, you can efficiently transact across multiple liquidity venues around the world. That's stability is tough to obtain in a fragmented market, which is what crypto is. There isn't a global centralized exchange for crypto. So, and I guess the underlying question I've got to ask is, they must have realized that you do that super well, because they have their own internal liquidity hub that would be usable theoretically for the same purpose. And for them to be turning to a third party like Uphold and saying, hey guys, you can actually help us with this, that's saying something to me. Am I right?
I think so. I mean, I think we're unusual. And again, it's something that most people don't realize about Uphold. Even if you compare us with some pretty sophisticated, I won't name any names, but some pretty sophisticated OTC brokers in the crypto space, they're typically only connected to 10 or so underlying liquidity venues. We're connected to 30. And again, the point that people tend to miss about Uphold is that we have a fully automated, high frequency trading stack that connects us to those venues. Without going into the weeds too much, I'll give you an example. So even if you look at a pretty sophisticated trading firm, again, I'm not going to name the name, but they'll be running in the cloud and they'll be built in Python. If you look at Uphold, Our trading stack is actually built in Go and C++, so ultra low latency languages, and we run on physical servers. So we have 5 physical servers around the world that are co-located in Japan, in Singapore, in Europe, in the US, that put us very close to the underlying trading venues. So that really does give us the ability to price incredibly tightly. And, I think that's a differentiator that a lot of people miss.
That's awesome. So even though you are running payments infrastructure, but you also have a trading stack and a trading infrastructure that looks more like that of a high frequency trading firm that's doing global trading, from what you've described.
That's right.
That's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, no, we bought a fantastic company a few years ago called LXDX, and that brought us a group of employees and very experienced traders who came from an HFT background. And so they built this infrastructure that really now is allowing us to, differentiate ourselves in multiple ways. And also it serves up benefits for different customer groups. So on top of the platform, we have a retail app, which of tokens on offer. And then we've got an enterprise app in the form of Topper, which again accesses the same stack it combines breadth of tokens, deep liquidity, very tight pricing, and that allows you to offer those different segments, benefits that really differentiate us from the competition and resonate in different market segments.
Yeah, great. Well, I'll come back later in this conversation so we can talk a little bit more about your repositioning of Uphold over the long term into becoming more of a B2B enterprise infrastructure company, right? But in the meantime, again, focusing on recent developments, we were very, very enthused at your results in Q3. And without going into the weeds, I'll share with people that what the company achieved, even in the short term, in the quarter just passed, was stellar revenue growth along the lines of about 25% quarter on quarter, and stellar gross profit growth. Their gross profit quarter on quarter grew, close to 33%. Those are really strong numbers when we look across the whole space and see that people aren't doing that. And the backdrop to that too is that they're achieving that whilst retaining customers and retaining assets. Their Uphold has experienced no net asset outflows in any month of this year, right? And despite the fact that token values, as we all know, right, have contracted significantly, they've been able to achieve continued net asset growth. I think you grew assets quarter on quarter as well by, close to 10%, I think. So talk about the last quarter and maybe give us a sense of what you've been doing to buck the tide, right? Where we have a market that's shown some amount of comeback in the last 30 days. Hopefully that sustains in terms of crypto. But for the most part, 2022 has been a pretty dismal year. And so I'm just really impressed that you've been able to turn the tide. And I think the other question I would interpose here before you respond is, do you think that your Q3 results are a harbinger of better days to come in the broader crypto market?
Sure. So first of all, we were very encouraged by our Q3 results. I mean, the wider market backdrop was pretty dismal. Daily trading volume in crypto dropped from an average of, I think it was 65 billion a day in July, right down to 25 at the end of Q3. So there was a deteriorating market backdrop, and I think there are several factors that played in Uphold's favor. Number one, I think our long championed value proposition of transparency really resonated in the market. We're the only financial platform that I know of that publishes our assets and liabilities every 30 seconds on a public website. So our customers know that not only are their assets there, but they're available for withdrawal at any time. And given the market, the failures in the market, I think that gave people a lot of comfort. And as you said, Joe, we've had positive net inflows, strong positive net inflows every month for the last, I think it's the last 9 months at this point. We haven't had a single negative month. The second reason is we've added a lot of blockchains. We've gone from being integrated with 8 blockchains to being integrated with 25 blockchains. To give you one example, we integrated with Arbitrum last month. That has 1,200 different projects being built on it, has daily flows of, I think it's 9.8 billion a day. We're able to service that ecosystem for the first time through Topper. So Topper, built on the Uphold platform, separate app, allows fiat to crypto on-ramp capabilities on a non-custodial basis. And that's really extended our distribution. So basically, we go to a project that's built on the blockchain and we offer them a way to onboard fiat on a non-custodial basis using a card. That business has been doubling its revenues every month since we launched it. I believe we launched it in April. So that's been encouraging. Third major reason is, as we've integrated new blockchains, we've also dramatically extended our token support. When I took over, I think we supported, it was 70 tokens. Today it's 280. But the more important point goes back to that trading architecture and liquidity sourcing. We're the place that retail investors come to discover important new tokens early. Why? Because we source liquidity from 6 decentralized exchanges. A lot of the most important tokens appear first on DEXs. We're one of the few centralized platforms that's sourcing liquidity from DEXs. So, we brought to market pretty important new tokens such as Constellation, Quant, Matic, and that's a very important thing. Being first to launch an important new token has really helped to distinguish us.
Yeah, we've seen venues that actually are constricting in terms of the number of tokens listing, and you guys continue to expand. I think you added 7, 8 new tokens in the last quarter. So that also is good. How would you, looking at that whole landscape, let's get back to the whole question of you're repositioning the company into becoming more of a payments infrastructure company, right? One of the really, I think, important trends that is hopefully going to power the growth of crypto companies such as yourself is this whole notion of embedded finance, where there are a lot of very well-established institutions today around the world that are operating at scale, have tens of millions of customers globally, and are transacting in the course of their business, which isn't a finance business, right? But that require payments. And embedding your capabilities into such a business, example, this is purely hypothetical, guys, YouTube, right? We've got a lot of people in the audience who I think regularly watch YouTube influencers. We have a couple of members that are creators on YouTube. Well, those people get paid. They get paid by subscribers, and they get paid a portion of advertising revenue by YouTube itself. And all those payments today are in USD or whatever their native currency is, and goes into a traditional bank account. What if, Uphold were embedded into YouTube, and now those creators have the ability to receive their payments in crypto, receive payments in crypto from their subscribers, get paid in crypto by YouTube itself? That would be a revolutionary thing, but that's actually not something that's far away. And I would imagine that you actually have the capability, Simon, today at Uphold to deliver precisely that kind of service to YouTube if they wanted it, right?
We do. That's exactly the kind of deal that we're super interested in. So something we're doing now is, our platform is already extensively API'd, but we're in the process of APIing it so that we can expose certain of our core services without the customer having to take our wallet. In many cases, these firms already have a wallet, so they don't want to take our wallet, but they do want to access, at the most basic level, the ability to buy, hold, and sell cryptocurrencies, but exposing our service behind the scenes using their own wallet. So we're about to, we've got a platform team working on precisely this, this enhancement of our platform right now. And we think that's a very, very important scaling opportunity for us. There's a whole bunch of social media platforms now that are starting to embrace the concept of cryptocurrency for payments. And to your point, Joe, a very attractive way to grow our business is to plug their installed user bases and increasing our flow and distribution by effectively providing a piece of payments infrastructure to them.
So I take from your response that that is going to be an important strand in your B2B journey.
It is. I mean, my personal conviction is that that will be the single strongest growth engine of the business over the next 5 years. And what's going to help us, of course, is there's a slightly different point, which is as regulation is now finally becoming clearer in the UK, in Europe in particular, in places like Singapore and Dubai, as the regs become clearer, you're going to get greater enterprise adoption. You're also going to get greater adoption from the traditional finance world. So we've now been approached by several banks who are interested in white labeling our service. Again, they don't want our wallet. They don't want their customers have to go through KYC twice, but they do want to plug in and access certain of our core services. You know, it's actually kind of fascinating build that we're having to do, because in that particular flow, the bank would be doing the KYC. They would be sending the KYC docs to us via API. We then would run our own control framework, but we'd use their docs. So there's quite a bit of complex architecture to do to achieve this. But I mean, some of those opportunities involve millions of customers. That's really exciting for us because it's allowing us at a stroke to increase our distribution at virtually no customer acquisition cost.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is probably the best segue then to the final question I'll ask, because we've got tons of questions from the audience that I want to make sure we have time for you to answer, Simon. So talk a little bit then about the vision that you've got for this transition. And I think you'd set a date of 2026 for Uphold to complete this transformation into becoming more of a B2B business. What is that going to look like? And as investors, what can we anticipate in terms of changes to the kind of revenue streams that you generate? I can recognize that the one big benefit is that you will be insulating yourself increasingly from the very cyclical nature of the B2C business, which is, today at least, very driven by the speculation of retail investors in crypto, right? To becoming a much more, steady provider of payment flow services to enterprises, which is going to give you more predictable, more even, more continual revenue streams.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're positioning ourselves as a Web3 financial platform. And as I said at the start, our core mission is to make it super easy for people, companies, and institutions to move value from fiat into crypto and then across different crypto networks. That last part is particularly important to the vision. I guess I'll give you, to make it concrete for people, I guess I'll give an example. Again, I'm not going to name the name, but we've just signed a deal with a mobile telephone company. Goes live in the next quarter. And that company is based in Europe, and they have an installed customer base of around 14 million customers. And they're going to be taking from us not only a card, but also virtual bank accounts, which are issued by another part of the Uphold business that people may not know about. It's an EMI called Optimus Cards based in the UK. So that business, an EMI in Europe, basically has many of the capabilities of a bank without actually being a bank. In particular, it has the payment capabilities of a bank. And that mobile telephone company is going to be offering a wallet and a card to its customers. And the customer base is primarily expat Indians living in Europe and the UK. And that so they're going to get salaries paid into the wallet, and they're going to have remittance back to India using the parent company's banking license in India. That for me is a fascinating example of where we want to go. Again, large customer base, payment flows. And then phase 2 of the project will be introducing crypto.
Very cool. Okay, let's move to, I glanced really quickly as you were speaking, Simon, at the Q&A stack, and a lot of the questions are coming from Link2 customers who are also Uphold customers and relate to their, user experience, various features on your platform. So let me ask a blanket question first to set the context, but you have had to deal in the last year and a half with a whole bunch of increasing regulatory hurdles in various jurisdictions, right? And
Yeah.
as you sought to meet those, increased hurdles, you've also had to constrain service in certain jurisdictions. In the States, for example, I think about New York and some other states where you're having to obtain additional licenses in order to be able to do what you were doing. Could I get you to just provide an overview of the status of where you are, basically, in each of these important jurisdictions, and when you expect to be able to achieve whatever you need to achieve to be able to go back to delivering the services you had done before?
Well, I'm not sure I quite follow the question, because we haven't lost licensing anywhere. We're licensed extensively across the US. We've got I think it's 46 MTLs now. We've also got a crypto asset firm registration in the UK. We're one of only 5 big platforms to have that registration. In Europe, we've got a Lithuanian VASP, and we're about to passport across continental Europe under MiCA. New York, we are in the process of submitting our BIT license application. So we hope to come to New York within the next 12 months. We wanted to, the BIT license, like the FCA license, is an extremely tough license to get. And, we've put a huge amount of investment into foundational infrastructure. We're very proud today of our compliance function. Over the past year, we've seen at least 13 of our direct competitors disappear from the market for various reasons. But one of the most common is that they've lost the support of their banking partners. We're really proud to have retained our banking relationships in the countries we operate in. And one of the reasons for that is we've got a very robust compliance program. And the banks, especially in the US and UK, only want to deal with firms who represent very low risk because they've got a very robust control framework. So that's an investment that's paid off for us many times over.
Yeah, it's also one reason why I think Ripple selected you as a partner, because it's useless having access to 30 odd, crypto trading venues around the world and being able to do very efficient high frequency trading to narrow spreads if at the end of the day you don't have crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto payment ramps.
So no, absolutely. No, absolutely. Compliance is now the second largest department in the company. And we go through all manner of audits, both in the UK and in the US. We've just completed our BSA AML audit last week. And, the feedback is we have a very robust program. And effectively, we're using traditional banking standards, and it's a high bar, but it doesn't prevent innovation. one thing I wanted to mention on this call actually was we're about to launch a service called Vault, which basically makes self-custody easy for the average customer. And it's embedded in the Uphold app, launches in 2 weeks. It means the customer can move funds to a self-custody wallet. They hold 2 keys. We hold 1 key, which means that if they lose one of their keys, we can do key recovery. And we're super excited about that because what is that doing? It's basically taking a core concept of DeFi, self-custody, and making it practical and viable for the average user. So we're stripping away the complexity, creating a very easy user experience, and we feel that product in our retail app is going to be a very strong offering. We're offering it on subscription as well, so it's going to be our first subscription-based product. But that's a really interesting example of how we're taking a concept from DeFi and we're offering it through our Uphold app, which means that everybody's KYC'd. So it's a compliant offering that takes away the complexity for the user.
Yeah. So you're trying to deliver all the efficiencies and practicalities of a non-custodial wallet, but deliver a security that's closer to having something that's self-custodied. So it's a hybrid, trying to take the best of both.
Exactly. I mean, your funds stay close to the Uphold platform, but you have the ultimate security of a self-custody wallet that's easily accessible from the Uphold app. Nobody else has that at the moment, and we think that's a super interesting concept. You don't have to depend on us to move your money. It's in a wallet that you control, not that we control.
And when do you launch this new product, Simon?
It launches on November the 29th. It's out with a test group at the moment who are giving it, I'm pleased to say, a very positive feedback.
Very cool. I'll definitely be on the lookout for it.
Yeah.
Ray, would you be so kind as to kind of moderate the questions, please?
Absolutely, Joe. I think everyone on this call is anticipating for the vault services and more. And thank you very much, Simon. This has been a very thought-provoking fireside chat. I'm going to go into the Q&A window and start from the top and work my way down for the questions in the Q&A. First question is from Dave Nelson. Is Uphold planning to utilize AMMs on the XRPL that retail investors can participate in?
I'm laughing because it's a conversation we've been having a lot recently. The answer is possibly. We're looking at various ways in which XRP holders might be able to generate a yield on an opt-in basis. There are various ways in which this might be achieved. One is allowing them to wrap XRP in Flare. Another is access to automated market makers. A third we're even looking at conceptually involves allowing users to lock up their XRP for a period and agree that we sell the funds and put them into treasuries. We're looking at various options, and we're actually planning to go out to the community and run the options by customers to see which they preferred. All of these would be in an opt-in basis and fully disclosed basis, obviously, so people understood the risks that they were taking on.
Thank you for that, Simon. Great question, Gene. Hopefully you're on that list, sir, so you get the full benefits. From an anonymous 10D, what is the timeline to roll out the Uphold vaulting function? Oh, you already addressed that. November 17th, I believe. 29th.
No, November 29.
Yep, perfect. Another question from Dean. Does Uphold have plans to increase their maximum daily, weekly withdrawal limits for retail investors?
Yes, we do.
And you know what, Simon, I've been involved with some chats between TA members and some of your customer success representatives. Dean, feel free to shoot me an email and I can make some introductions to help you with that, or at least point you in the right direction, sir. Okie dokie. David Rutledge, what in your views must happen to bring the Main Street and suburban users to the crypto and other associated spaces, blockchain and Web3 integrations and products, to be specific, in terms of creating an environment these users can be comfortable, especially in terms of security and usability? A lot in there.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the fundamental question in crypto. I think the answer is stripping away unnecessary complexity. If you've ever tried to interact with DeFi applications, it's fairly complex. It's not easy for the non-technical person. A part of our strategy for our retail app going forward is to expose certain aspects of DeFi. The Vault is a great example, right? Because we're exposing self-custody and making it easy. And stripping away complexity, creating a super easy user experience, and also keeping people safe. The trouble with DeFi, as you know, I think the statistic is still it's like 100 million a week in hacks in DeFi, which is absolutely horrific. But there are certain applications in DeFi that we find super interesting, and we would like to give people the option of accessing them through Uphold in a simpler, easier way. Our starting point is Vault. Make self-custody easy and convenient, neither of which it is today. So, we're particularly excited about that product.
Simon, don't cut yourself short, sir, because my mom is an Uphold user, and for her to be an Uphold user, you've done well in making it pretty easy, sir.
All right.
All right. Another question from Gary Hurst. What is the purpose of the cooling off period Uphold enforces? And thank you for hosting such an awesome, wonderful, exclusive link to fireside chat. That was all in there.
The cooling off period is largely a thing of the past. We used to have a problem where people deposited funds via the ACH network onto Uphold and then immediately spirited them off into a blockchain address, an irrecoverable blockchain address. So it was a fraud vector. And so at one point we had a horrible cooling off period of, I think it was 90 days. That's been eliminated now, provided you link your US bank account via a service called Plaid. So it's largely done away with. If it isn't done away with, it means you're depositing funds from a bank that hasn't integrated into Plaid. But that's a tiny minority. The vast majority of people are not subject to any kind of cooling off period today.
Thank you for that, Simon. Actually, another question in regards to the Vault, and we're getting more questions in, so excuse me for a second. Does Uphold Vault provide protection from loss if it's a subscription based? Does Uphold guarantee loss from hackers?
No.
The question is it insured? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Not insured. So you get the premise here is that you, the user, get 2 keys to a self-custody wallet. So you can move the funds without any recourse to Uphold whatsoever. If the Uphold app is down, you can still access your funds and you can still move them. If you lose one of your keys, we can put your remaining key together with our key to create a new key. Key point is, sorry for the pun, the main point here is we cannot move the funds with our one key. The only purpose of our one key is to create a new key should you lose one of your keys. If you lose both keys, your funds are lost.
Scary. Thank you, Simon.
Yep.
A great question from, well, these have all been great questions, excuse me, but a question that is on the forefront of everyone's minds here. This is submitted from Team Apollo member Killian De Bruyne, I believe from Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. Belgium, excuse me. Thank you, Joe. Simon, when do you see Uphold going public? Or is there, in your opinion, more chance another company will buy Uphold? Thank you for your time.
That's a great question. I think we love being a private company. Why? Because it's allowed us, certainly over the past 18 months, to really obsess on the things that create fundamental value. We're focusing on the right things, which is the breadth of assets, the trading architecture, the expanding the platform so that third parties can easily plug into it through APIs, developing products such as Topper, which is massively extends the reach and relevance of the Uphold platform. We didn't use to cater. We didn't use to cater for people who were primarily interested in using self-custodial wallets. Now Topper allows you to make payments directly to projects built on the blockchain just using your card. You don't have to open an Uphold account. That's a massive extension of our market space, of our addressable market. And you get to do all of this really intense value building as a private company. So I'm on the fence, but basically you build fundamental value and you become an immensely valuable asset, either to be acquired or to ultimately go public.
Wonderful. In regards to the card, Simon, I had the privilege of attending CoinAlts 2023, the symposium in San Francisco, which was sponsored by PolySign's MG Stover, Brad Garlinghouse, and Jack were up on stage, and Brad mentioned or brought up Uphold's debit card. Is there any possibilities that us U.S. residents will be able to see the card soon? Because I believe it was discontinued for a momentarily.
Yeah, absolutely. We intend to bring it back in the United States, and we're aiming for the second quarter of next year. We still offer the Uphold card in the United Kingdom, and actually we've seen fantastic growth in the UK this year. One of the drivers has been that super card, which allows you to spend any asset that you hold on Uphold, from physical gold to Bitcoin, at any merchant that accepts MasterCard. It's been a big driver, and we've been paying 2% back in XRP on every purchase if your funding source is fiat, or 4% if your funding source is any crypto. We absolutely want to bring it back to the US. At Money 2020 last week, we were talking to a whole bunch of suppliers who we're going to be working with, and I'm very confident that we'll have it back in the US in the second quarter.
Thank you for that, Simon. I appreciate it. Looking forward to earning some XRP when buying a burger at In-N-Out. A question from James Long, a Team Apollo member. I hold XRP in my Uphold account. I will want to sell some if when the price rises and withdraw in USD. What limits are set by Uphold in the amount of USD? I know we briefly touched on this a moment ago about the abilities to increase them, but off the cuff, Simon, can we actually, what are those limits? If you're
sorry, able to catch the question. The limits to do what?
For withdrawing, is it capped at $5,000 a day, or
deposit? I'd have to come back to you on that. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'll also chime in and make introductions, James.
Yeah,
should you want to change those thresholds, and I'll also Simon, I'll get those answers for James as well.
I think the general thing I'd like to say, and Ray is kind of alluding to this, is that we have an understanding with Uphold that TA members are accorded different privileges on their platform as their regular, over and above what's offered to their regular people. So Ray and our customer success people reach out to us, and we'll put you in touch with the people at Uphold that basically oversee their concierge service, which is extended to VIP customers, and all of our TA members are VIP customers.
Yep. Just put a note down. I believe it's Dean and James. So I expect an email.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see here. We've got a whole bunch of questions.
Withdrawal limits, I'm fairly sure we don't have them. I mean, the only thing you'll run into is if you make a very large withdrawal, you'll be asked to do a liveness check, which is just us taking a selfie of you and comparing it with your government photo ID. We've put a huge amount of effort into security on this platform over the past 2 years.
Without a doubt, Simon. Another question that follows suit to that, due to the level of security that you guys offer, in the services, where I'm getting at is you offer commodities on your platform such as gold and silver. They're available to residents here in the U.S. Speaking from experience. What about UK residents or members domiciled in the UK?
Oh yeah, well, you can access. Actually, let me remember this. I believe in the UK we withdrew precious metals, and it was part of our FCA process. So yeah, I think in the UK we have a slightly different offering. We certainly have a lower number of digital assets, and I don't believe we currently offer precious metals, and it's a licensing issue.
Understood. Well, great question, Andrew. Thank you for your input and participation, sir. I know you got to run, Simon. We've got 10 minutes left. If you don't mind, we'll address a couple more questions here and then close this out. One question from another TA member, Steve Nolsh. I have an account at Link2 for both at a taxable account and an LLC that is owned by my Roth IRA. I have separate accounts for both